What about this whole complexity issue, though? As I just said, we biologists will freely admit things are really, really complicated inside the cell. They're even more complicated when you have some training and understand the biology, unlike most of the creationists. So how do we explain that? Don't we have to resort to a creator? And we say, well, no, of course not. There's lots of things that are very complicated. I'll show you an example here. This is a photo from a beach up north, Rialto Beach in Washington State. It's one of my favorite places. I really recommend. Go ahead, take a vacation there. You'll love it. And this is a very common thing along beaches, even beaches in California. Driftwood. Have you ever looked at driftwood? You go on the beach, and I'm sure they bulldoze it away here, but you know, in other states, it's left sitting there. You find these walls of driftwood between you and getting down to the beach. Real walls, very complicated walls. Look at all those logs just lying all over the place. This is, we can say, a wall. It has been constructed. Who did it? We know the answer. Natural processes did it. We don't need a designer to build this kind of wall. That what happens here is this is just the storm line. That storms come along, they push logs that are floating at sea up onto the shore, and this is the limit of where they push them and they pile up there, and they make these very complicated long walls that run for miles and miles and miles, and are interesting places with all kinds of bizarre things going on in them. I mean, these are habitats for various invertebrates, for birds, all kinds of things live in here. Bacteria, of course, are thriving on it, and you get these complicated shapes. This is complex. You simply can't deny it. That's a very complex thing. You know, if I turn the projector off, will you be able to draw it? No, because it's fairly detailed, all kinds of minutia involved in building this kind of wall. On the other hand, we're familiar with this kind of wall. So this is also a wall. It's one that we can recognize that has a specific purpose that was built by human agents. And I'd have to say that of these two walls, which one is simpler? The human-built one. This is one of the things about agency, is that when we build things, we don't make them needlessly complex. We want to make them as simple and efficient as we can, unlike that driftwood wall. So there's a difference here. When we look at natural walls, what we discover is that natural things are built by chance and necessity. They're functionally unspecified. There's nothing that says that pile of driftwood is a wall. It just functions as a wall to us. But it's also got diverse other functions. And they all tend to be complex. In this sense, complex often means sloppy. But it's still complex. Artificial walls, on the other hand, are built with intent. They're functionally very specific. You know, you don't just get a bunch of bricks and some mortar and you randomly throw it around to build a wall. If you want to build a wall, you build a wall. And that makes them relatively simple. So this is a mistake they're making, is you can't use simple complexity as a measure of design. As another example, I know there are some academics here who are probably like me. You know, I start every school year and I go into my office and my desk is pristine and everything is neatly laid out. And if you want to see real complexity, come visit me around about December. And suddenly everything is overwhelmed with complexity. There's books and papers everywhere. And I swear to you, it's not by intent. I don't plan it that way. What it is a lack of planning that leads to this kind of complexity.